PR Connections Radio presents.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention. If you are looking at my face, it is 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Cozy Up and Pay Attention, Season 2. If you would kindly take a deep breath and exhale, we'll be back with my wonderful guest for the day.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
If you would kindly bring me my wonderful guest for the day, Miss Lori Rogich. Did I say that correctly?
You did. Good afternoon, Cozy.
Hello, Lori. And Lori, before we get started, I always say to the audience, being a parent does not come with a manual. And even if it doesn't tell you the best practices or policies for your particular child. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. And this show has nothing to do with parent shaming. We try to bring parents on to highlight the sacrifices and the compromises that it takes to develop a responsible adult. So to get started, I'd like to ask the audience, or I'd like to ask you, not the audience, to let us know where you came from, Lori. So it's a compound question. Where did your parents meet? How old were they when they had you and maybe were married? And let's start with little Lori Rogich coming into this world.
Sure. I was born and raised in New Jersey, specifically Union, New Jersey, which is in the northern part of the state. And my parents were married at a young age. My mom was, I would say, 19 years old when I was born, and my father is a few years older than she is. I have an older brother, and so they married as teenagers, and they were together for a few years, raising 2 children.
Did they stay together?
No, they did not. They divorced when I was very small. So,
okay.
And mom was a single mom.
She was.
Yeah,
okay.
She was. So she raised us both, and here I am today. So I don't think she did a bad job. Let's say that.
I would say not. And how old were you when you met the father of your first child? And what part of the country did you both come from?
We actually grew up next to each other. So wow. I knew him when I was 6 or 7 years old. He was a few years older than me. He was the boy next door, literally. And wow. So we had my first daughter when we were both very young. I guess I followed in my mom's footsteps. And we did not last. I raised her as a single daughter, and then I moved to Nevada in 2000 and met my husband shortly thereafter.
Okay, you're too far ahead. Hold your horse. Stop the brakes. So when what I know from what you just said, this was an unplanned pregnancy. There was no way. And you were how old, Lori?
I was 15 when I was pregnant, and I had my daughter when I was 16. So.
Okay. So generally, I asked the question, was it beauty, brains, or brawn? But this was teenage love, right? pretty much.
It
Teenage
sure
puppy
does.
love and teenage irresponsibility. And that is almost part and parcel of what this show is about indirectly. So what?
Things
It
happen,
happened. That's
and
right.
it
So
happened.
what?
That's right. And we took responsibility and
Okay.
had our
And
daughter.
what kind of support system that you, because you needed one, what kind of support system did you have?
Well, my mom was a big support system, and I lived at home with her, and she encouraged me to continue with my education, which I did, and I'm very grateful for that advice. And she watched the baby while I attended school, and I worked in the afternoon, and eventually graduated high school along with my peers. So I'm really thrilled about that. So I would really have to say my mom was my biggest supporter, and
Okay.
gave me the guidance and the advice as to how to navigate being a young mother and the reality of it.
When you missed your period, right? That was the first sign. Was that your first sign, or did you get?
Well,
Or
no,
did you? Or did you
my
get your
test
breast
was
get
a little
something to do?
sore. So,
So when it was confirmed that you were with child, even
yes.
at 15 or especially at 15, Lori, do you remember? Did you feel fear or fantasy?
Boy, that's a tough question, because I think at certain moments there was a fantasy that this would be wonderful. But then the fear came in when the reality came forth, and I had to tell my parents that I was expecting, and the disappointment that I saw on their faces, and their concern as to what the future would hold for me. And that's where the fear really set in, and the reality of, now what am I going to do? And so,
Okay,
yeah.
and let's step back a moment. How long did this kid hang around? The father of the child.
Oh, not long after he found out I was expecting. So,
Okay, so
that would
you
be in the
never
first trimester.
you what?
That would be in the first trimester. As soon as he was told that I was expecting, he decided he did not want to be a father. So,
Okay, that's fair.
and that was the reality of that situation. And so,
Yeah.
again,
So,
I leaned into my family, my mother specifically, as to what to do.
mhm. And so thereby, I don't get to ask the question, what was the difference in your upbringing and his upbringing? Because the reality is, you're 15 years old, pregnant by a kid, and neither of you knew what you were doing, and it was the pure responsibility of your parents to help you out and to get you through it. So now your mom is helping you. What wise words, Lori, because now you have a lot. You're still being raised. She's helping you raise your child, and you're doing it, and you're going to school, and you're being more of yourself. As you're raising your child, and as she becomes a teenager, what have you, what were some of the wise words that your parents said to you that you found yourself saying to your kid?
I think the biggest, well, the words were take responsibility. And that's what I shared with her. That's what I was told, which is, now you made a decision. You have to take responsibility for it. And so it was all about accountability. And that
Okay.
was what I shared with my daughter, was being
Okay.
accountable for decisions, actions, and decisions.
So now we are going to bring in your today family, your husband, your solid life. And then some of those questions I do want to ask. How old were you when you got married to your husband?
I was 38. 38.
Wow.
37, 38. Yes.
Wow.
So, my
you're
daughters
20.
were 20 years apart. And so, and we married when Olivia was a year old.
And you were already finished, you were already a practicing attorney.
Yes.
Okay.
I had finished
Yes.
my, obviously graduated high school and went on to college after my daughter reached a certain age where she was attending school full time, which allowed me to then get babysitters in line. And I pursued my education while working during the day, and I pursued my law school while working during the day. And shortly thereafter, moved to Nevada, met my husband, and started over again. Although my friends like to say I moved to Nevada and I had too much fun. So next thing I knew, I had a second family coming along. But I look at it as a blessing. And
yes,
my husband and I have been together for 20 years. So over 20 years now.
Wow. So before I go into your questions, I do a recap. So we have a young mother who came from a young mother, and that sort of follows on this show and in life. So what? Again, lemon to lemonade. Young boy didn't want to. That's fair. He didn't know how. Wasn't able to financially take care of you or himself. I don't even know what his education was like, but that's not important. What's important is your mom hung in there with you. You realized that your life didn't stop. You went to school, you raised your kids, your mom helped you raise your child, and you pulled yourself up by those bootstraps, and you became a responsible adult yourself who then raised another responsible adult. And again, it has to be said time and time again on here, it doesn't matter. The unplanned isn't important. It's the plans after the unplanned. How's that? And that's exactly, so that's exactly what you did.
A line of strong women, my mother likes to say. And so, and that gave me the courage to face the future.
That's why God let women have kids. You're just on a list of a zillion strong women who did what they had to take care of their kids. So
exactly.
I as a non-parent, I applaud you. And there are others who are listening and has been on this show who did the exact same thing. So let's get into your questions. I'm sorry?
No, I said I did it. They can do it too. So.
Well, those who are listening, if they're young, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, having irresponsible sex, it does bear to be repeated every week. You will get pregnant. Unless there's something physically wrong with you, you will get pregnant. Unprotected sex equals pregnancy. 1 + 1 is a baby. 3, right?
So true.
Yeah, so unless you have twins, and then 1 + 1 is 4. But let's move forward. So the first question, Lori, is that you chose is to explain an unexpected challenge. Now, before you answer, we're now including all of your children.
Yes.
Right? You choose which unexpected challenge or collectively as a parent.
The one unexpected challenge was when I was pregnant for the second time. And so everything came together. I worked hard. I was now in my 30s and going to the doctor and excited about the second pregnancy and finding out that we were going to have a child with an uncertain future. Not sure quite what that meant, and certainly started to do the research based on some of the terms that the doctor was using. And basically what it came down to is that our daughter was going to be born with special needs. And so for us as parents, I think it's when you're told those words, it's very difficult to digest. You're not expecting that. And then there's this onset of worry and concern. What does that mean? What do we do? And it's a whole host of issues that come about. And I like to say it's a new vocabulary that you learn because there are medical terms involved. And and again, here you are expecting and you're excited about the future, yet afraid of the future. And that was one of the most unexpected challenges that I have faced in life. And so you take a deep breath, you collect yourself, and you do your very best to forge ahead and have that strength and that courage to face the future and learn how to become an advocate for a child. And so our daughter came along. It was a difficult pregnancy. She was born and she had a lot of medical needs. And again, that was another new vocabulary that we had to learn, and then being present in the moment when dealing with doctors and understanding what was wrong with our child. What can we do to help this baby? And we did. Olivia underwent to this date has undergone 2 heart surgeries. She's undergone 2 spinal correction surgeries, facial reconstruction. We've had bone cysts, and that was just the medical side. And as she aged, we found out that there were academic issues. There were learning disorders, severe learning disorders. And so again, here was another situation where we had to learn another new vocabulary of what it meant to be dyslexic, what it meant to be on the autism spectrum. What is autism? And what do you mean spectrum? What is that? And learning about, for her, she was born with hydrocephalus, which is, in layman's terms, water on the brain, and or fluid, it's spinal fluid buildup. And so learning what that meant, how that interfered with her ability to have a certain future, let's say. So back to the academic component, we then learned about nonverbal learning disorder, auditory processing, ADHD, non-attentive. Who knew? I didn't know. And these are issues that it was all trial and error. It was not only listening to the specialists that were conducting these assessments, but also observing. And one of the things that I believed in was that she could learn. And that comes back to the education component. I believe in education. I am a firm believer of it. And I believe all children can learn. Some learn in different ways. And she was a child that learned in different ways. So that meant we had to think outside the box and be creative. And we did. And she rose to the challenge. And it took a long time. It wasn't overnight that everything became normal. As folks like to say normal. I do the air quotes. It took a long, long time. And so that has, it's that unexpected challenge that we faced, we endured. We still go through certain situations with her, but she is now a college student. In fact, we're at the University of Utah at this very moment, collecting Olivia because she had to move out of her dorm today. The semester's over. And here is a child that we were told of that would have this uncertain future. But because of her strength and her resilience and being surrounded by love and people that believe in her, she has achieved. And here she stands as a sophomore at the University of Utah. And we are so thrilled. So thrilled. And this is over a course of 20 years. So it's not something that magically changes. It's something that you have to keep at. And it becomes a way of life. And eventually it becomes her life. And so I hope that answered your question, Cozy.
It was wonderful. And I'm going to stop right there before I go to the next question, Lori. Every parent, whether the child is planned or not planned, every parent, every woman who is carrying a child, it used to be said all the time, all I want is my kid to have 10 toes and 10 fingers. That was serious. In other words, all I want is a healthy child. Well, that's not right. A promise, right? No. So it doesn't matter. It helped that you were a mature parent, but it didn't matter. Your first child could have been that child. Again, when people are having irresponsible sex, these are things that have to be considered because there are just no promises that you're going to get a healthy child, right? So what do you do from there? If you're planning it, again, but at least you give yourself a heads up, knowing you're going into it full on with the understanding that this is an undertaking. And thank you for all of that. And I've met your wonderful daughter, and I'm actually sitting here trying to not to get emotional. So let's move on. The next question is, what did you learn from baby number 1 that you applied to the next? And you can say the next 2 if you want.
No, I've given thought to this. And one of the things that has really stood out the most for me is being present in the moment. And what I mean by that is that when I had Jessica, I was a young single parent. And for the most part, I worried about money. Where I have to work, I have to pay the bills, I have to put food on the table. And so I didn't have as much time with her. So 20 years later, I'm in a far different place. I'm more emotionally stable, financially stable, and able to live the moment with the child and enjoy those little moments that I so much missed with my first being. And that had to do with, it could be the patience and just having the time to just, allow me to be part of something that I missed and recognize that. And for that, I thank God and I appreciate being blessed in that sense. And so, with the second child, I was able to do arts and crafts, participate in class projects. And I think I went a little overboard with some of the class projects because I had so much fun. And I give you an example, and it's actually pretty funny, a little scary, but pretty funny. Mm-hmm. The school they attended, they went to the Adelson campus, which is the Jewish day school. And there is a pool there, and they decided to do cardboard races. And you had to build a cardboard boat with duct tape. That's it. You couldn't use glue or nails or anything. Well, my husband was born in Iceland, and so we are always talking about Iceland and the Vikings. What do I do in the garage bin? I build a Viking boat. So literally with the dragon head. You had to see this thing. It was hilarious. But the point was, I had so much fun doing it. I never had the chance to do it with my first one. And boy, did I take advantage of it on the second one. And despite the fact that I was working too, I still found time to take the time to enjoy. The thing did float. We did have to get a U-Haul to bring it up to the school. That's how big it was.
No. Well, the other word with all that you said is, there's another word that needs to be said, and that word is called maturity. Back to what happens when you're young and you don't know what you don't know. That's so right. Now you're 38 and more, and you're mature. So let's get to the next question.
That sounds pretty mature what I did.
No. We're not talking about the boat. That was childish, by the way. No.
It was fun. I had fun for the first time.
But again, you were able to because you were more mature. The first kid, you were young. Having fun was the least of it. As you said, you were trying to eat. You were trying to educate yourself. You were trying to get her taken care of. So it's just great that I have you on here with two distinct lifestyles for your pregnancies. So the next question that you chose, and I think you answered it a little bit, what did you do to encourage success? Now, you can talk about chores, social skills, educational expectations, or developing good relationships. Pick one.
So, well, I think you know the answer to it. Education is the key. I truly believe in education. I firmly believe in it. I believe that it is the one thing in life that no one can take away from you. You work hard to get it.
There you go, Lori. I say that all the time. I do motivational speaking with children, and I say that to them. Every classroom I go to, that is yours to have and to hold. And it will allow you to use your brain in any of those situations. And you may not be right, but doggone it, you're able to partake even in a conversation. All right, moving on. Your next question is, and again, you can do it as a compilation. What was the hardest age?
I have a period of time for the hardest age, and I believe that the age from 14 to 17, that is the hardest age. And it's tough being a parent, especially in this day and age with regard to your competition, which is electronic devices. It is so hard to engage a child who has become obsessed with video games or social media, and the impact and influence that those programs and those platforms have on your child. It's very difficult to navigate and to almost get your child back once they start venturing down that road. And I know there's a lot of discussion of it now, and I'm so glad that there is, because it is a serious issue with regard to communication with the child.
It has come back to bite us on the butt, Lori.
It sure has. It was fun in the beginning, but then when they become obsessed with it and they're unable to put it down for a moment, even if it's just sitting at the dinner table and having a conversation without it being a distraction, that I find, and that age between 14 and 17 was tough, because they want to be independent and they want to make decisions, and they want to be defiant. And when they have the impact and influence of the social media, it's really very difficult. And
can I ask you, how old were your kids when you purchased their first phones? See, because that's on you, by the way. So how old were they?
They were 11, 12. But we started letting them go on little video games, and that was our biggest mistake. We thought they were fun and educational. And then came a moment where the light switched on and they went, down a different path with it. And it was very hard to take those items away, especially between the ages of 14 and 17. They're bigger. And I'm no longer, this mom that carried them around. They were bigger than me, and they could look me in the eye and say no. It was tough. No. It was tough putting my foot down. And there were some challenging moments. And so I don't have the right answer or the guidance to parents as to how to navigate that. I think each family has to decide for themselves what to do.
Again, this show is nothing about any other family. This is all about your household, what you did. As again, there are people who are listening. There are people who have done the same thing, are going to have. They've got 11 and 12-year-olds right now, and it's getting ready to happen. I have to say to my guests almost every week, do not preface your opinion and your lifestyle and your household with what anyone else would do. That's not what this show is about. This is not an opinion. Do you like it? Do you not like it? So let's move on to
let's just say it got ugly a few times in the house. So because it was a matter of frustration and a challenge over something that I couldn't even talk to. It was an electronic device, and it was in my way.
Here's the reality as a senior, and I remember being a teenager. 14 to 17, across the board, Betsy Ross was a rebellious teenager, okay? Everybody's a rebellious teenager. Our challenges today are just met with an onslaught of technology, right?
Yes.
So when you put the hormones together with the please don't take this thing away from me, that just creates more havoc in your household.
It sure
Last
does.
question, and again, say child, but let's say children. What are you most proud of and I want to say your children?
What I'm most proud is that they believe in themselves, and they've become good citizens, and they're compassionate, and they have this willingness to help others, especially those in need. And right there, I know that I've done a good job. So
there you go. Okay.
And I hope they continue that path. So
chances are they will.
Yeah,
chances are they will. All right. So your fun question is, and thank God, folks, we discussed this beforehand, because anyone who watches this show says, watcher asked the wrong fun question. I changed the questions, Lori, and then I forgot how long ago I sent all of you. No. Yeah, but no, we're fine. You and I just agreed that this is your question. And I like this for Miss Serious Attorney. What cartoon character would you like to be for a week, Lori?
Bugs Bunny. I would love to be Bugs Bunny.
Why?
I truly would. I find him hilarious. He's quick-witted. He's sarcastic, which there comes that attorney side. But he just finds humor in things, and he can laugh at himself. He laughs at others. Some people don't like that, but I just think that he has a ton of fun, and I would love to be him for 1 week.
And so what you're saying indirectly is you are Bugs Bunny. You have Bugs Bunny's traits. You have Bugs Bunny characters.
That's it.
And
That's all.
And I will put in there, you're as cute as Bugs Bunny. How do you like that? So we have hit the show on the dot. You have been very complete and understanding in what you've been through. Again, young parent, came from young parents, raised your child, met with challenges, medical challenges, got over that. Your daughter is now, as you said, you're on the dorm where she is right now. Both of your kids, let me say that out loud, both of your kids are in that building where you are right now. We thank you, Lori. I represent all of society every Tuesday from 2 to 2:30. And as a representative of all of society, we thank you. We need more parents to take their jobs seriously. Again, planned or unplanned, what do you do next? Lemon to lemonades. Let's just keep this ball rolling in terms
just
of
keep moving. Yeah.
Just keep moving and sticking to it and sacrificing and growing up. Right? The immature person got pregnant. Well, now you got to grow up and create another mature adult. So we do thank you. And before, Cozy, I don't feel like going behind me. I also have 2 books on Amazon called Cozy Up and Pay Attention. Cozyisms. The first rule in life. Look at this. I'm having a brain fart. Cozyisms, the art of paying attention, the first rule in life. Self-published on Amazon. Please support me. It has quick wit. It has it's educational. It's entertaining. And there's also some wonderful art from 2 artists that I've worked with in the past, and I'm pretty proud of it. We will be back here next Tuesday, unless God knows something I don't. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't believe we made this happen, only because of your schedule. So I thank you. And Lori is on her way to China tomorrow, where she's going to bring me back. Do you head this way? She's going to bring me back the shot glass. Exactly. So, folks, I thank you for watching us. Please spread it. Spread friends. We're on. Tell your friends about us. We're on YouTube. After this is finished airing. And I love to end the show by saying, sometimes in life, when we know better, we do better.